August 3rd, 2023, Sergej from neuHouzz coming at you with a quick update about a fire burning in the Soyuz and also a quick word about the insurance policies. Guys, the fire started about 5 days, came from the United States, south of the border from the Soyuz and crossed into a Soyuz. It's been burning steadily. Very lucky that we have such a great emergency services BC wildfire personnel who's out there, and yours truly, myself, with our wonderful Kalina Fire Department and many other crews from around the province who gathered there and been protecting the community. So far, no structure loss, even though that first night when the fire crossed the line, the borders, and ended up on the southwest corner of Osoyoos, the golf course community and subdivision. I literally was so amazed and impressed the efforts that were displayed by the wildfire crews and the other firefighters who were protecting the structures. We literally had flames 30 feet from the houses. We were spraying it with water. The guard was being dug by wildfire service personnel. Those guys are machine, and I'm so thankful myself that we have men and women out there like them who prepare to put their hard work on the line. And literally, it was amazing to watch them, and we were happy to be there with support, with our engine trucks, with the water supplies to keep everything wet, and literally keeping the flames that were at times, I saw tails where Ponderosa pine was just engulfed, and I mean, tails were 60 feet up above those 60-foot trees up in the air. It is something truly incredible to watch, but luckily, everybody's working hard, no structure loss. Now, quick word about the insurance. Folks, it's extremely important to make sure that the type of policy that you're carrying on your home or on your investment property is really specific to your use. What I'm sharing today is the fact that about 2 months ago, one of my buyers entered into contract and purchased a home specifically for the investment purposes. It was an Airbnb property, and that's all they were going to use it for. There were scheduled showings, scheduled bookings already through the summer. They assumed that those scheduled bookings, and they were happy about that purchase. So what transpired two months later after possession, I got a call from my clients, and they said, Sergej, we're stressed out because we are unable to renew the insurance that we assumed from the previous homeowner. And because we can't get insurance for our use, which is the short-term rental insurance, they were in a position where they could get a coverage which is the same as a previous package, which was for the long-term tenants. Again, long-term versus short-term tenants. That's a critical piece. And the insurer was going to give them the extend the existing policy, but they said, we're using it just like the previous homeowner was using it for short-term. And they said, well, we clearly told the previous homeowner that you cannot use short-term, cannot do short-term rental with this kind of policy. And they still went ahead and did that. Now, because my clients, after checking as one of the subjects we had, that was one of the subjects in the contract to check and make sure that we will be able to get insurance policy, we asked, we got the answers that, hey, we can assume the policy, we're doing the rental policy, it's all good. But when we mentioned that word short term, it's changed everything. What was also happening is, even though the insurer could give them the new policy, but because the fire was burning towards Peachland, which is less than 40 kilometers as a crow fly, the insurer could not issue them a new policy. You see what's happening? So it's the best part that every day we learn something new. Even though I made sure we had the insurance as one of the terms and one of the conditions in our contract, even though the buyers made inquiries with the insurer if they can extend the insurance, then the lawyers satisfied the policy with the lender after reviewing it for the mortgage that they were advancing. All of those check boxes were ticked, But when the buyer went out to renew it, because it was a renewal 2 months after our possession, they couldn't do it. So what they stood to lose is not only now that they're gonna have to pay, and in the words of my buyers, she told me, Sergey, it took me 5 years to convince my husband that we could buy an investment property for $1 million. And now we did, and we're going to be paying out of pocket because we can't rent it. And then besides, if they can't rent it with the insurance that would have renewed itself, which was a long-term tenant insurance, they would have to cancel all the bookings that they had in August and September, and that was a huge loss. And when you canceling on Airbnb platform with a short notice and can't accommodate your guest, Airbnb makes you pay to the tenants the same amount that you would have charged them, either 50% or 100% refund. So not only the mortgage coming out of the pocket now for these investors, but they also would have had to dug deeper, and pay also reimbursement fees. Luckily, I made a couple of phone calls to my contacts with one of the insurance brokers, and I asked them if they would be able to look after them. And luckily, after a couple of days, a few meetings, those guys, they got themselves short-term rental policy insurance, and during the fire season, and they are continuing to operate their Airbnb successfully, and it's a happy ending to that story. But folks, just critical. Every single detail matters. I learned something new, that maybe just a single word, a single term, when we inquiring and doing our due diligence, can make it or break the deal for somebody. So make sure that you know that. Your realtor you're working knows that, if you are in the market for insurance policy. But even if you are renting a suite as an Airbnb in your own personal home, you have to have the short-term tenant insurance kind of policy on your place, because otherwise, if something happens, if something goes wrong while the tenant is in there, you're going to be on the hook, and there potentially will be no coverage for you. Guys, I hope you found this information extremely helpful. I wanted to share it with you. Everyone, if you need a little bit more info about Soyuz, local markets in Penticton, neuHouzz team is here for you, and we're on the front lines. We're going to work hard for you. We're going to tell you what you need to hear, and we'll give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Much love. Peace.